variety of schools and communities and camps. And so suddenly we were shut down in so many ways. Hopefully some of you have seen me speak at some of the national conferences you've attended, in which I love. And if you know me and know how I speak, one of the hardest things for me to do is to sit still and to just stay in a little screen. So please forgive me as I squirm a little bit and move around a little bit. Staying focused in one spot and not moving my feet is not necessarily an easy task for me to do. But we love bringing energy into the room, and we love putting good into the space. And in all of our different programs that we do, that's our big focus, is how can we add to and be of contribution and service in whatever room we're sitting in. And so I'm just going to share with you, quite honestly, what began to happen for me. We started to kind of get the news and the wave of COVID, and suddenly we were mandated to quarantine, and some of our schools actually shut down long before the quarantine happened. And I found myself in my pajamas with yet another pint of fish food or the late night show version or whatever it was, hit next episode. Yes, watch next episode, watch next episode. And for a moment, I was kind of caught up in this, oh, what do I do? And I didn't know what to do right away. At first, I was just looking at all these canceled things and stopping this, and everything was can't. And I had to remember my training. I had to go back to what I've always known, and that's just to have smart feet, and leaders lead. And I had to think about, how could we lead? How could we take all those same things that we teach our kids, and how could we use that for our organization to begin to be a helper in this situation? Well, we weren't in a position where we could just show up at the local hospitals and help the local hospitals, or we could begin to organize food trains, but we saw that our local restaurants were already beginning to do a variety of those things. So we began to stop and spend some think time of saying, okay, what is it that we can do? And so in that process, we began to take a look at those can do things. So first and foremost, what we began to teach our staff is, what can you do as preventionists, to first take care of yourself? We tell them all the time that it's important to put the oxygen mask on first, and yet we wanted to make sure that our staff was doing that as well. And so I just want to share with you kind of some tips of different things it is that we do here at our office, and what we share with our young people to do regularly. First and foremost, we always have in the heart of anything we do, affirmation cards. We use, whether they're angel cards or affirmation cards like this, we use it not only for our young people, but for our adults too. And what we just ask is that you choose a card, or some would say the card chooses you. And in this case, the particular top card just says, I am a dream unfolding. And on the back side, it says, every day I get closer to the person I am meant to be. And sometimes these cards are just great just to give you a mental focus for the day, just to give you a place to start with, especially if you don't know how to do that stuff naturally, if it's not part of your system. But it is a way of self-care. And one of the themes that we're hearing through this is the importance of self-care. There's going to be a secondary wave of this, and folks who are just going to be impacted so bad by the trauma of this that the fallout is going to be big. And so the stronger we can make ourselves physically, spiritually, emotionally through this process, the better we are fit to be of service and to be of help for others. So part of the shift of that thinking of not what can I do, how do we reframe that how do we move people to shift to language of, instead of saying social distance, how do we say it's physical distance, yet we're still socially connected? Because people were starting to feel that they needed to be isolated and that they couldn't do anything. And so moving just that shift of language to physical distance, or not saying you're stuck at home, but saying you're safe as home. All these little nuances begin to train our brain and get our brain to think in a very different way. So then we had to kind of adapt to, how do we go online? How do we stay in the human people business and suddenly work online? And so as we began to take a look at what that online work was, we started to have to engage in Zoom, which we kind of dabbled with, and we started to have to learn how to do Microsoft Teams, and all of a sudden this week we're probably over Zoomed, right? We're over scheduled. Many of you are finding that you're having more conversations with people, and you're scheduled out so much more so than you were before this happened. And you're kind of like, wait, I still have that old job, that other stuff to do too. And now I'm shifting to what it is I need to do. And so, I would caution you to still, as you can, as new conversations and new response and new crisis has opportunity for us to engage in different ways. It also still is really important for you to like schedule out and have some control on your schedule as you possibly can. So in these Zoom calls, in these new calls, if you're like me, you're constantly hearing something like, could you mute your phone? Could you mute your phone? Could you please mute your phone? So yesterday's conference call, I had heard it for the 87,000th time, and I kind of was like, okay, folks, let's get our phones muted. So I made up this sign. I don't know if you guys can see it, but it's if you're an old Saturday Night Live person, depending on your age, you would remember this scene in this skit quite well. I will share that with anybody who wants that. I could make that available. It got shared a bunch of times on social media yesterday. So learning our new etiquette about how we function also became an issue this week. If some of you are on Zoom, you might have began to experience Zoom bombs, people jumping into your meetings that were not password protected. And some folks are really having a hard time with what's happening in them. And especially as our recovery community, I know we often think about prevention, but it's important that we understand the needs of our recovery community in this. In our system, and our recovery community quickly adapted, quickly began meeting online, but because those online meetings were open, they unfortunately people were going on into chat rooms, into Zoom rooms, and they were actually drinking right in front of folks as they were trying to heal. So learning how to keep our etiquettes, keep our awareness going, make sure that we can support folks in using technology, but using it in a safe way that keeps things going for them, where they can open up and communicate and talk. And so I said in the beginning, I'm not so traditional. And so we do with all of our programs and what we work on, we have this segment, a little moment we call Tips from Your Aunt Tilly. And what they are is just little ways that you can help do that self-care and help raise your awareness of it, and just really kind of find ways that you can feel good about yourself or keep your energy going. So first and foremost, I always suggest to people, especially if you're working at home and you have to create boundaries between being a home mom, homeschooling your kid and still working. How can you begin to make some boundaries? How can you dress up for work in your house? How can you show up and put makeup on or do those things that make us feel a little bit more energized? And whether it's our families or dressing up to come to dinners or doing theme nights, encouraging just different ways that even in the same space we're in and sharing a lot, that we can make it different on a daily basis. And that becomes really important. I remember being at a meeting once and it was rainy and cold and just one of those nasty New York bitter days. And as we showed up at the meeting, we were all wearing gray. Every one of us either had black on or gray on. And we walked in and we were all caught in the energy of the storm and the energy of the rain and the cold and the damp. And there was my friend Elaine, who was in there with this bright yellow jacket on. And I was like, I looked at her and I'm like, didn't you get the dress code for today? Like, she definitely... And she said one of the things that she had learned from her Aunt Tilly was that she learned that on rainy days were the most important days to wear bright colors, to dress up, to energize yourself, and to begin to feel good. And so we always take that tip and use that. So whether it's just wearing a necklace regularly that you can touch and it grounds you and it reminds you of what's important, or wearing something that comforts you or something that brightens the day, have those tools that you use, your cards, different things to begin to lift your spirits up, because it's going to start to get tough and it's going to impact us in many ways. I have a staff member who has just found out that she's having a baby and she's expecting, and it's her first, and it's such an exciting time for her. And she says one of the things she misses is the opportunity to come into the office and have her peers be like, that's a cute outfit, or, oh, you look adorable, or, oh, let me see the baby bump. And so although she understands that clearly her life is not being impacted the way others are, it still is something that she is changing and missing, and it's not matching up to the picture she had in her mind. So again, as we self-care and find different ways, let's all take a step back and realize how even those small things really make a difference. In our leadership programs and our programs with kids, we do a lot of letter writing and note writing, and sometimes we hang up paper bags on the wall when we're in our camp settings, and people can drop little notes into that. Sometimes we keep them up for staff where people could drop notes in, and so over the years those notes will add up and they'll begin to collect. And so on rainy days, on those days when you're just feeling like I'm just not feeling so great today, all you need to do is to simply pull out a card and just be reminded of all that you're connected to. So this particular piece is a piece one of my students gave back to me, because I always say, wiggle your toes, look down at your feet, and be in the moment. And so much of our life is so busy. I think that's the one adjustment folks are learning as we move into this this time of quarantine, is how busy we were, and suddenly now we're doing things that some of us have been longing to go back to. In some ways, we're eating as family, we're forced to be in the moment now. And so rainy day cards are ways that you can use in your staff, in your programs, in your coalitions. You could just put them out, and so people could just drop what we call warm fuzzy moments in on them, and then they could be of service and helpful to somebody later on when they're just not feeling it. Because every once in a while, it's important to remember that we matter and that we make a difference, and those notes definitely help us do that. So using tools like that, beginning to dress up and show up, getting creative about how we're going to move our prevention, are all some of the conversations we've been having. And this is all new. And so we as a staff we didn't sit down together, we Zoomed together to decide, okay, if we're not going to be in schools, if we're not going to be doing our camps, how can we connect? And so we came up with a couple of different ways that we can connect. Now, my staff will say one of the added benefits is everybody's cooking with onions and beans now in a way they never did, because they know we're not all going to be in the same office together. But you take the good in many different ways that you possibly can. So leaders, we adjusted ourselves and we said, what are we going to do? So one of the first things we did was we started to come up with a bunch of different online activities that we could do that were interactive. We began to pay attention to what the social media was going on. We began to see parents, moms especially, on the Facebook venue begin to put up a lot of drinking, their mom's hour, where the moms would get together and they would all sit and drink and share on Zoom. We began to see a lot of joking about alcohol. As a matter of fact, last week in New York State, our alcohol sales went up 55%. 55%. In 1 week, our alcohol sales went up as a result. And they began to change policy in New York. And you may begin to see this in your states too, where they lightened up the liquor authority rules, and it allowed businesses, small businesses, because we love our small businesses and we want to support them, but our restaurants could now send pictures of margaritas out or drinks to go out right off premise, which they've never been able to do, as long as you purchase some kind of food. So you could order 12 wings and get 3 jugs of sangrias sent home to you if you want. And so from a policy point of view, we know that we're in this emergency state. We also know that the story that's going to get told in this, and how people's substance use disorder is just going, is just going to hit a different level. The admittance to hospital rates, hopefully, if people do get help and do find help, are going to increase, and our system is really going to be impacted by that. I often think about the young families, or the families who are in crisis and now they're cooped up together. So it's not necessarily playing Monopoly for them and good family bonding time. It's actually a quite scary time because they sought refuge in schools. And so So online counselors who we work with began to set up systems where they had code words, where if they were Zooming and talking with or doing teleconferencing, telehealth, that the kids could give them code words so that the schools, so their counselor knew that their parents could hear what it was that they were saying. And so they had to adjust their work, and we began to think of ways that we could help them. A lot of counselors chose counseling because they didn't want technology. They didn't want a computer. They didn't want to have to communicate this way. And they're, quite frankly, not comfortable. And it is uncomfortable. It's uncomfortable to see, ooh, my face makes that, or my hair looks like that, or, oh, I didn't realize I sounded like that. So getting comfortable just being on a screen and talking to somebody became, for our generation, a challenge. Young people, they've grown up with FaceTime, they've grown up with videos, but for those of us who are over those ages, it was just a little different for us. We have to learn. They didn't have to wait 3 weeks for their pictures to come back from York Photo Finishing, or whatever online, whatever mail-in place we sent our film to be developed. So teaching folks who are of different age to get used to and embrace the technology was important. So one of the first things we did was we had a friend who works for the Alan Alda Foundation, and what their foundation is known for is to teach scientists and medical doctors how to have warm, soft bedside manner, and how to move their science brain to a way that they could talk and communicate. And so as a result, I went to her and I asked her to see if she can develop some programs for us, or just some techniques where they use improv to teach. And can we then, as prevention folks, begin to put together some improv tools that we can share with our counselor folks who are doing telehealth. So that was one area that we began to think about consultants, and think about all the different people we're connected to, and how they could, in fact, begin to bring that skill set that may be missing, or just at least make people a little bit more comfortable in using this form. So maybe there are some improv folks in your community who are looking for maybe some small consultant dollars, or just even a gift certificate at this point, where they can take their skill and their expertise and they can use it to teach counselors how to warm up and be a little bit more engaging even in this format. One of the other things that we did was we said, okay, what can we do to begin to get good social messaging out there in social media? And when I began to see the moms and all that come up, I started to, as a person in long-term recovery myself, and now I'm in recovery over 30 years, I have to say, it doesn't mean that I'm not triggered. And now I'm in my house, and the messaging is all about drinking and partying. That's the way we're going to get through this. So I put out just a plea in a very gentle, supportive way, to just remind folks that their kids are watching. And if we continue to teach our young people that the way we get through adversity, the way we get through challenge, the way that we get through a tough time is to drink through it, then unfortunately those are some of the coping mechanisms they themselves will pick up. That particular post, and I've never had this happen before, it got 51 shares. It just went all over the place. I had never had that happen before, but it was just a gentle way of not being like, you can't do this, parents, but just being in a way of saying, we get this is tough. We're there for you. Please, we just ask you to be a little bit mindful of this particular component. And it was really welcomed and hit. I've never had anything get shared 51 times. So it was kind of a nice moment. But there are ways that, whether through your coalition or through your own personal social medias, you can begin to make sure that we're countering the message in maybe some loud ways, but maybe some quiet, just gentle ways as well. And if we're in this field and we're known as the preventionalists for our community, as best as you can, I would just challenge us to kind of really get behind our words and walk our talk when it comes to our own messaging with as it pertains to alcohol. So the next way we made the adjustment is said, okay, what are we going to do? How are we going to go online? How are we going to do some really fun, interactive things with folks? And so one of our staff said, hey, let's do a scavenger hunt. We know that parents are now teaching and everything is online, and parents are kind of like over the screen time, but at the same time, they're also looking for things to kind of break the monotony and break what's happening at home. So we set up a scavenger hunt. We began to put together little different household items that may or may not be in somebody's house. So, and we made a list. And so we said, okay, who's going to have an Etch-a-Sketch? And the format that we're going to roll this out on is on Zoom. We are going to do it through Zoom so we can control who's coming into the room. It can be password controlled. We have launched it out on Facebook as an invite. So if anybody wants to come in and play, you are more than welcome to come on and play. It is this coming up Monday night at 7 o'clock. One of the first things we realized, we had so many things launching and so many things we wanted to do, and suddenly, like, everything was being flooded. So we decided to just say, you know what, let's just pace ourselves. We're going to be in this for quite some time. This is not going to be something that's going to be quick and done and over. It's going to take us a while. And so let's begin to scatter out. As people are getting settled into their routines, we're slowly begin to introduce activities. So this Monday night, 7 o'clock, we'll make sure that you have my contact information so you can get into the Zoom. But so the scavenger hunt may look like this. They have to run around their house and have to see if they have an Etch-a-Sketch. For your older families who don't have school-age kids, they may not have one, but they may have something else. Like, we also know that right now, toilet paper is a big hot item, right? So who can show us a roll of unused toilet paper, right? Who can turn around and run around their house and come up with some kind of stuffed dolphin or dolphin of any sort? Who has an American flag hanging around their house? Who happens to have a bag of marbles or any kind of marbles? Let me say that correctly as best I can. I just got them back, so I'm learning to use them. Who's got some, and we know in this time of like sustainable food, who's got some pasta lying around? Who has a spool of thread? And so the way that we're going to play this is we're going to have folks, we have a whole list of things in our bag that are here. Some will be sports related. Some will be for folks who are older. There are moments we're going to say, okay, kids, and only anybody under 18, like if we say a thimble, which probably most kids would struggle to know what a thimble is, we're going to give challenges based on the generational divide. And in between, we'll do some fun one-off games when everybody gets back to the screen and they got their imaginary point, because we're not giving anything out. We're just doing this for fun. But once they come back to the screen and there's some downtime, we're going to turn around and do things like, okay, whatever family can get up and sing the song, I'm a Little Teapot, which most kids, again, won't know. The parents will have to teach it to the kids. And what we really just want to do is just bring an element of fun in this one. We just want to not have a big prevention lesson in it. We just want to bring families together and show them that there are simple ways through some simple things and simple games that they can just have a blast and laugh at one another and connect and be connected to families from all over. So our invite to you is we will get you, if you're interested in even watching, or if you have any ideas, anything that we suggest, we're like, look, take it, make it better, because this is just all preliminary. We're not like, oh, this is hugs, don't do. We want you to take it and make it better. And if there are ways you found that you were successful in it, share it with the group. That's how we all get better, is by sharing and connecting and collaborating and making sure that we're like all in this thing together. One of the other things that we're going to do, super excited for this one, our coalition was actually going to do this as a family fundraiser, and unfortunately can't have gatherings. But the next week after we do the scavenger hunt, the next thing we're going to do is musical bingo. So super excited about this. Goes by the regular rules of bingo. Everybody's going to get a sheet. They'll get their sheets emailed to them. I'm going to show you exactly how to get those sheets. We're going to play a song. This one, again, we're playing on Zoom. And one of the reasons we're choosing Zoom as a platform for this is we don't want to get in copyright issues with playing somebody's music online. So we will definitely use Zoom for this event. So the way that it works is teams will sign up, families will sign up, and in those families, once they register with us, they're going to get some sheets. They can say whether they want 5 sheets, 10 sheets, it doesn't matter. We're having a bunch of them made up. And then the way that it gets played is we're going to play a song. So the theme we're using for the first one that we do is we're going to do an 80s hits, right? So I want to see that website right there, myfreebingocards.com, myfreebingocards.com. By the way, there's really not so free, but I will tell you they're really nominal and easy for you to buy. If you want unique pages like we want unique, we don't want every family having the same card because then that's no fun, right? For 100, it costs you 10 bucks, easy breezy. For 250, it costs you 20, and for 500, it costs you 30. So we're going to order 500 because one, we don't know, it's 30. One, it's $30, so we can afford that. Two, we're not sure how many different families are going to sign up. But three, when we're past this COVID stuff, this is a great activity for you guys to do in your youth clubhouses, in your after-school programs, as a fundraiser. There are great ways that you can play with this. I will share with you, this is one of those things that can help you personally too, because although we're going to choose 80s to start with, there's country western, there is a variety of different ways that that you can play this game. You can play current songs, current hits, but they have a bridal shower edition, they have a bachelorette party edition, they have a baby shower. So if you're put in charge, once we can start doing those things again, of doing games at somebody's shower, these things could be your best friend. You will look so creative, so awesome, and really you just had to click a couple of buttons. So the way that it would work is we would play, we have a list of songs that are included on everybody's cards. We'll make sure that they are all uploaded into our computers through in whatever platform I would happen to use. My music source, but whatever place you upload your music to, you make sure you have that music ready for you, and then you just randomly play parts of a song. You don't play the whole song because we would be there forever, but you want to play it enough so people just start getting up and they start moving and they start dancing and just having a good time. And then once you've given them enough time to mark their cards, then it's time for you to do the next piece. Now the cool thing is you can get a lot of use out of one sheet. You can do the standard bingo, which would be a line across or diagonal. You could do what they call the little round robin, which is this section in here. You can do the big round robin. You could go for full card. And again, you can make a choice yourself whether or not you want to give prizes. We have some hugs t-shirts lying around, some of our logoed stuff lying around that we have extra because we bought, we just had them from different events. So we're going to send them a couple free t-shirts, whoever wins. And again, we want this just to be randomized fun. Now, the other thing you can do is if your coalition has some extra dough lying around, you can go to those small businesses if you know that your event is only going to draw people from your community or your geographical area. And you can purchase from those small businesses some extra gift cards, and you can randomly give them out. One will help your small business. It'll help support them. But two, it will also be a way for you to give a prize if you wanted to. I've spoken to a lot of teacher friends as we've shared with them what we want to do, and they're like, stop giving out prizes. You don't always have to have a prize for something. So I'm trying to honor what it is that they're sharing, but it's not like me not to give something if we're playing a game, and we know competition brings out. But on the setup, we're going to give imaginary points to teams that show up dressed up as a family. You'll get an extra point if you have a family name that you log in as. We're going to find all these different ways to just bring about some extra creativity on their side while getting them into the activity as well. So the point is, we just 45, 50 minutes, an hour, we just want to have some fun. And we have all this stuff written up, by the way. We'll make sure that you guys get that to you. And we're also available to help after this call if you guys want some help in some of us, it's easy to MC and kind of host this kind of stuff. Others, it's not so. So we can help coach, we can help support you in whatever way we can to make your event even great. And we've even gone and another organization asked us just to host it, and we're gonna try and help them to do that as well. So however we can be of support, keep us in the loop. So that is scavenger hunt, which is one musical bingo. So we covered scavenger hunt is one of the first online interactive games we're going to do, and then after that we're going to do musical bingo, and we're super excited about that. A third night that we're going to do that we just can't wait for is we're going to do Minute to Win It games. We do them a lot as our icebreakers with our kids. We do them a lot in different activities. We're really big on team building, and we work with some really cool national folks on some higher end team building stuff. And so we like to bring that into that experiential learning piece in many of our lessons. So, for the Minute to Win It games, one of the first things we're going to do is called a family stack. And really what it is if you remember stacking cards when you were a kid and making a card, making a card house out of cards. We're just going to use, instead of using playing cards, we're going to ask families to have index cards. And if they don't have index cards, use playing cards, that's totally fine. But one of the first things we're going to do to make it a little bit more prevention-esque is usually they have to stack 10 high in a minute's time, right? Usually it's like challenge and everybody feverishly is putting in there. But before with that, we're going to spend some time just getting them to think a little bit about their family. So on one of the pieces of paper, they're going to literally, they're going to just spend a couple of minutes, not long, not in depth, not deep, but just talking about what's at the foundation of their family. What are some things that make them a unique family? What are their family values? What are their family rules? And they would just share and write that on a card or two. And then after maybe the next stack, maybe one of the things that they talk about is who do they see as part of their family? And they're people who they see as part of their family may not just be people they're biologically related to, and it may not necessarily even be people who are living in their house. I can't tell you how many people that my kids call aunt or uncle that are just no blood, but they're just heart family. And so just having that quick conversation is who defines us as family, who's in our circle, who are our people, or even with kids, who are your go-to people. And it's to begin, especially with the older kids, it begins to assess who's in their support network, who are the people that they can go to if it's not you. And it not always may be you. It may be appropriate that it's your sister or somebody else that can help guide them along the way. And maybe after you've explored who's in your family and what the foundation of your family is, how do we show love for one another in this family? And have them just think about that and write them and talk about things that we don't always talk about, and have those conversations that are a little deep, but still doing it in a playful, fun way. And then you can go into your stacking game, and where they have to go 10 high, but maybe just 10 specific levels of different prompts or quotes that can get folks into a discussion first, and then turn it into fun and have some joy and some frenzy. For those of you who teach about vaping, for those of you who teach about alcohol, about tobacco, and about your lungs, one of the fun activities that we do with our young people, but we're going to include it in our Minute to Win It family night, is you pick an object. Hopefully it's M&Ms or some kind of small object that can be picked up by sucking on a straw on one side and then and allowing the suction to hold it up. Yesterday we actually did a demo, but we only had goldfish. And the one thing we would say is M&Ms are great, Skittles are great, goldfish worked. You definitely could suck in a straw and have that suction hold the goldfish. It's just if they're flavored, you're going to suck up that flavoring into your mouth as well. And it wasn't a good day to have pizza flavored goldfish for our staff who showed that. But the goal of this particular game is on one plate, you would put your goldfish, your Skittles, your M&Ms, and people have to take a straw, and you would want multiple straws for multiple people because we want to be safe today and not spread germs. And what all they simply do is they hold their straw and they suck and they hold the goldfish or whatever it is to the bottom of the straw, and then they have a goal of where they have to get it to. Now, when we challenge our young people with this, we put the plates 10 feet apart. So they've got to walk across the room, not letting go on this, and then drop the Skittles or whatever their object is into the other plate on the other side of the room. It's a great for talking about keeping your lungs healthy, keeping capacity if we wanted to turn it into a lesson. But if we don't want to turn it into a lesson and we just want to have fun, you don't have to have those conversations. You can just have a blast with it and have a start line and a finish line and get people running down, running around the room in a relay kind of way and pin them up as teams, and so you can get as many to the other side as fast as they possibly can. The third minute to win it game that we're going to do, if we can, we're hesitant, although this is our favorite and it's hysterical. Having people have what they need at home to get it done may or may not happen. So what you need is an empty tissue box, the tall square tissue box like this. What would happen is there would be nothing in the tissue box except for like 10 different ping pong balls. Again, if you want to turn it into an activity, you could have them write on the ping pong balls. In this case, they want to get rid of the ping pong balls, so you would have to talk about things they want to let go of, things that are negative energy, things that are dangerous to their health and well-being. So it could be alcohol, it could be drugs, it could be just negative self-talk, whatever it is, and they would write it on the ping pong ball. Then this has to get attached to a strap. What we did creatively yesterday was we had an empty box. We did happen to have 10 ping pong balls. I wish my other staff member could zoom in and show you exactly what it looks like. And then this gets tied. Now this is called junk in the trunk. And the way that it happens is you wrap the belt or whatever you tie it with on your waist. This hangs off the back of your butt, and you got to shake your butt and do whatever to get all the ping pong balls to come out of this box. A ton of fun. Again, great family fun, great way to play it. You can make it prevention-esque by having them label, have a discussion first, have them label the ping pong balls as they put them into the box. But then the fun happens is when you have children and adults of all ages have this strapped to them, and they're trying to like move their butt up and down or do whatever they need to do to bounce the balls out of this hole. So junk in the trunk, not a game for the week. But it's a ton of fun, and it's a great way to play. Again, you can make it prevention, or you can just simply make it fun. If you're looking for a resource on some more minute to win it games, just go online. They're all online. It's all Googleable. Again, there's nothing about any of the things that I'm sharing with you that has been designed and developed by us. Those things we do have that are copyrighted, but this particular stuff out here, this is all that you just have a blast with, and totally you can create your own family games and designs. So we're also found out just by chatting one day that one of our staff members used to be a waitress, and one of the things they asked her to do as she was a waitress was run trivia night. So I asked her, I'm like, can you do some online trivia night? She's not being a waitress right now. She could use the extra dollars, found some consultant dollars. I threw her some extra money, and she's putting together a trivia night for us that we are going to do on Facebook Live. We're going to use that venue there. This way everybody can play. You're just going to get in. You can keep your own scores. You can, whether people want to answer as a team or as an individual. But again, we're just going to make it a ton of fun. We're planning that for I think toward the third week in April, but we're going to pick a date that has the most history on it and the most good, so we can do a lot of that this day in history kind of stuff. But again, that's a great way to get people to register, announce it, get them on Facebook Live. And then this way you can engage people who may not necessarily like some of the interactive fun games, but they have a great knowledge base and they want to be distracted just as much and just as well, and you can get them engaged in playing that. We also encourage you to use Kahoot. If you haven't used Kahoot yet, it is a great way, one, to teach prevention, especially a great way to remote teach prevention. Again, you can use Kahoot for personal fun games to play with people, or you can use Kahoot to do educational stuff, which is what I think it's designed for. So the way that Kahoot would work is it's real simple. You would upload, whoever's leading the Kahoot conversation, you would upload your questions into Kahoot. people just would sign on. They'd go to Kahoot IT. They could get the app if they want or not. They would get a unique pin that they put right into the thing, and then suddenly you're all connected in the same game. A bunch of questions will go out. We like to do an anti-social media one where we teach about, where we teach people how to, all the different facts and figures about social media and their mental health and how it impacts them and the dangers of it. But you could do it around drugs and alcohol. And there's a ton of material that's out there already. So you don't necessarily have to think of the questions you want. Kahoot has a library of stuff. Some folks are using it for Drug Facts Weeks this week. They're using Kahoot is already set up for that. And so it makes it, again, a fun, interactive way, and you can have time in between. If they're all answering and you're using Zoom and sharing your screen, they're answering and they're seeing the leaderboard come up. They're seeing who's doing well. They're seeing who's getting things right. And so again, and you can also begin to see, you as the leader, see who's getting things wrong. And it gives you that moment, that quick moment to begin to mix some education into a fun interactive game. So Kahoot is definitely a tool that we've used. We haven't used it that much, the same as Zoom, but we're going to start to incorporate it and use it in this new day and age of where we are. The last kind of interactive game that we're going to do is we're going to build something. There, a local DJ, actually, and our DJs we know have been hit really, really hard, is doing bracketology, and it's based on what would have been basketball and March Madness and how the brackets break down. And we're just going to have a fun night with music where people will set up their brackets, they'll choose their song, and we'll just have some moments with music, very much like the musical bingo, songs that'll get people dancing and playing along, and then see who advances and makes it to the end. We know most, because he wants to make sure that he's building his business out, his prize for whoever gets the most amount of points in their bracketology happens to be that he's going to give them 4 free hours of DJ sessions, and he's like the most rated DJ in the Hamptons. So super excited that you can look at creating those kinds of partnerships. And the thing that I have to say about our small businesses, if you're running a not-for-profit, if you've done fundraising for your organization, you know they're the ones who've been given to you all along. You know that they're the ones who have been supporting your golf event, your bowling event, your family nights. They've been there. And let's think about ways that we can still show up for them, whether yep, we can do that personally by shopping with them, but also making sure that we're always including them. So very subliminally, or not so subliminally, right behind me happens to be one of our small businesses we work with all the time, Justin's Chop Shop. So what I did, because Justin's always giving to us, we have a camp for 100 kids where we feed them 6 meals, and he helps us get all the produce and all the food. And so we can never say thank you, but what we can do is we can turn around and make sure that if there are ways in any of our games, we can maybe crack a little joke about him, point him out a little bit, say a little something about him, or if we're not, his sign is still up there, we're helping brand them. If you know me personally and have followed me personally, you know that Hampton Coffee is certainly, I'm a big fan of Hampton Coffee. They happen to be my good friends, but always making sure that we have little ways that we can support big and little businesses. Here's candles from a local place on the North Fork of Long Island that we love to order from. So just different ways that when they're viewing in and watching us play our games, they know that they are connected, they know that they matter to you, they know that you're thinking about them, and they know that you're trying to help them as much as they have tried to help you for all these years. Lastly, and I'll bring this all home to you once so I could take a breath and probably maybe even drink a little bit of water. I want to share with you the 2 other areas that we went to work on. We began to realize right away that we needed to keep our kids engaged. And so we used some social media stuff with them. We did some challenges with them, and some took off and went really well, and some died out, but it was all about the practice of learning how we can improve. We began to do something called See Positivity, Send Positivity. I know a lot of you might have saw the push-up challenge going on, or See a Dog, Send a Dog, based on that same thing, but we just ask people to go out there on social media and just share their positivity, because that's going to be one of the things that we're going to need to carry us through and keep us going, because this is not a quick storm that's going to be over and done. This is not this is going to be a long-standing storm that we are in, and so we've got to plan stuff out for the long run. So we began to do those particular challenges. Kids began to challenge in another way. It was great to see the young people that we work with connecting on social media. We did some live events for them, some activities that we might have had that we didn't. I actually went onto the location of where it would have been and did a live session for them, and it was moving. It meant something to them. It connected them because, like one of our students said, they're like, Kim, we want to talk about anything that doesn't say COVID in it and that is not about schoolwork. We need a different focus. And so I think as prevention, we can give those to our relationships with them a different focus and a different place to look, and keep them working on their action plans and keep them working in their communities and how to be of service, and think about different ways that this particular opportunity gives them that. We also began to realize that it was important to us that we thought about the other folks that we've asked to teach at a discounted rate. So we have folks who teach Zumba to our kids, or teach Pilates to our kids, and we always ask them for a discounted rate. And right now, that community is another community that's not making any money. Yeah, they may be asking for some Venmo now online, but most of them are going online and giving their workouts and giving their information, not asking for anything back. So what we did was we asked them to make some specific videos for us. And so our Pilates instructor began to say, hey, wait a second, I'm hearing people complaining about their neck and their back because now we're not sitting at an office desk. Now we're at our couch and we're on our computer or in our bed, and different parts of our body are feeling it. So we did 15-minute coffee breaks with Deb, where she gave us a couple of different videos that we've shared within our resource of people, to just say, this is how you can take care of yourself. This is how you can take 15 minutes of Pilates and do some stretching and move your spine and lengthen your spine and do these things that will help begin to reduce the fatigue that your body is under while it's probably not always getting the best nutrition right now, while it's not moving the same way that it used to, and as you're definitely sitting in these really untraditional ways and finding your work. And by the way, some of us had bad habits anyway. When I sit at the computer, I'm always hunched over. So it's a great way to remind me, even crisis or no crisis, no matter where I'm working, to really work on those things that'll help me stay strong and help me stay strength. We've done the same with our Zumba instructor. We didn't ask them for hour sessions, 40-minute sessions. We asked them for 15-minute coffee breaks. We threw them a small amount of nominal donation to them. It's nothing like anywhere near that they're worth, but at least, again, they remembered that we were there for them as they have been there for us for so many of the time. And the last segment that we are launching over the next couple of weeks are, I just happen to know some cool people, right? I've just been introduced to some really awesome people. You guys are some of them. And I know that without knowing you, because I know you're in the prevention world, right? And you want to make a difference. And so one of the things I did was I reached out to some of those cool people, those people who've run Fortune 500 businesses, those people who have started not-for-profits, those people who have been to hell and back and just have a really powerful, awesome story to share. And I asked them if they would do some mental mindsets with us. Would they get on with our kids and our volunteers, or pretty much anybody who needs it or wants it right now? And we're going to do Zoom sessions with them where it's just kind of a fireside chat atmosphere. I'll do an introduction. They'll take it on from there. They're going to either share for 10 minutes, 15 minutes, 20 minutes, or whatever length of time they want to get their message out. And then we're just going to open it up to some engaging. And so again, I think this time is, in some ways, as people are beginning to work on some of their side hustles, people are in their creativity moment, whatever it is that's happening now, let's feed it with some really good stuff. And so once a week, we're going to have one of those sessions. And again, as we develop this stuff, you are all invited. None of this is just locked into us. We want to spread the good and spread the word wherever it is that we can. So we encourage you to join in. You'll know how to get in touch with me. But doing those master mindsets, doing those educational pieces, doing those fun games, are all the different things we're scheduling out now between now and what we think is probably going to be about 10 weeks. So I've definitely rattled along. I can't see your faces, so I don't know if you guys have fallen asleep at this point, or have crying babies on your lap. But what I hope is that you can maybe take one thing, two things, you're willing to share them with whoever. And like I said, if you're doing stuff, if you're like, hey, Kim, I heard about that with you, but here's what we did and we upped it and we rocked it. I want to hear that kind of stuff. I want to hear how you took this and you sparked it and you made it even better. So I'm going to take a drink of water. I don't know if we have a couple minutes for questions, if anybody has any, but I'm definitely willing to hopefully answer them.